Welcome to the B2B Legend Show by Oneflow. I'm Josephine, your host, and on this show we dive into the stories behind some of the legends in the B2B world. Each episode we chat with industry leaders to explore their journeys, challenges, and insights. Today we're joined by Sara Storm, co-founder of Break the Box. In this episode we'll dive into the skills you need to succeed in B2B sales, the story behind Break the Box, and we also get Sara's take on how AI is changing the sales space. Hello everyone, today we have Sara Storm here. Thank you so much for being here and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
So what I really want to do today is to really get to know you, your career journey, and really how you ended up where you are today. So let's just start with you kind of walking us through from where you started and how you really end up to where you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. So super good to be here, by the way. So my journey in sales, I think started when I was a kid, and it's not like it sounds. So what happened when I was growing up is I grew up in a very poor family, in a very situation where food was a scarcity. We didn't always have money to buy food. And since I grew up in an environment that was like that, but also with a very mentally ill mother, that environment in itself is a good reason to get out, right? So one of the things that happened that sort of led me into my sales career was that I was 20 years old. I just moved up to Stockholm, and I was thinking about what I could do to make a lot of money, to never have to be hungry. So this is very like tied to how I grew up and sort of what was important for me at the time. And then I got a job in sales, and then I sort of fell in love with the profession. I remember the second day of my first sales job that was full time. And we were going to school here in Stockholm's University, to sell gym memberships because I was working for SATS, which is this fitness chain, to sell gym memberships to random people that was there. And I was so nervous. I felt so bad. I felt like I was gonna throw up. Like I was shaking. So I called my sister, who was the sales manager at the time, and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna die! I'm gonna die! I'm gonna die!" She was like, "So you need to get your shit together. You need to put your suit on and you need to go out there, and they're not rejecting you. They're rejecting your job title. No one cares." So I did. I think we had a record of 56 memberships sold that day, and I sort of fell in love. But I was so freaked out before because I'm a very introverted person. Most people who meet me in sales situations don't understand that. But as a person, like privately, I am a very introverted person. So going into a role where you have to be extroverted that way was super uncomfortable for me. But I fell in love because it was such a rush, and I was like, this is so much fun. I could do this my entire career. Like, I'm just gonna stay in sales. Very, very, I don't know. I just found the passion for something, I guess. And then when I was going through my career, I was working in B2C for a while, and then 2012, I started at my first software company as a software salesperson. And once I got into that field, combining technology with customer interactions and sales, it was a match made in heaven for me. I found it very interesting. I'm very tech oriented myself. I think that this is the tools specifically for salespeople are super exciting. So I've been selling software for prospecting, CRM, like everything that has to do with what salespeople use. And so I started there as an individual contributor, and then I moved over to head of revenue at an agency. I came in when we were 7, and I exited when we were 45. We got bought by another bigger agency that's now Avidly in Sweden and in Norway. They're in Europe. And then I just kept climbing. So I've had every role from individual contributor, SDR, basically, all the way up to VP Sales and CRO. And I have never stopped loving what I do. I think it's so much fun. I love it so much. And having the ability to work with something that brings my mind so much, I don't know, buzz and interest and fascination I'm lucky to be able to work with this. So that's sort of my story. And then I started 2 different companies last year with my co-founder and also husband, who's been in the sales game just as long as I have. And now we're focusing mainly on Break the Box, which is surprisingly maybe a niche consultancy house for SaaS companies, where I get to work with a bunch of different sales tech companies that are super exciting, that are on the rise now. In AI, it's a lot of things are happening there. And I get to go in and shake their sales process and sales strategy up. And I get to onboard people, and I get to recruit people, and I get to help them grow, which is super exciting.
Yeah.
Long story short. or maybe not too short.
You did great. So I'm curious, how did you kind of move away from, as you said in the beginning, you were scared, you were like, how do I sell? How did that transition to from being scared to being confident and like liking it? How did you manage to do that transition?
I think that that's something that most people who are looking to get into the profession are asking themselves. How do I get over my fear of phones? How do I get over the fear of asking for the deal? How do I get over, because we have so many mental thresholds, right, around these things that makes us feel like we're putting another person in an uncomfortable spot. Because that's often what we feel. We feel like we're putting someone in a bad spot themselves. And my approach with when it comes to sales, specifically B2B, is that I have always chosen companies to work for where I have loved the product myself, because that sort of removes some of that feeling. That is, I'm trying to push something you won't use or won't like, because I know you will love it because I love it. So that was a strategic choice of me to only go into companies to sell things that I really feel is like the best in sliced toast, like that I really love. The second part has to do with working with yourself. It has nothing really to do with what job you have. It has to do with working with yourself to find a place in yourself where you feel proud about what you do, where you feel proud about how you help people. And I think that the idea we have of salespeople is very boxed in. We have this idea of this is how a salesperson should be, and most of that box is pretty ruthless. And I don't believe that sales needs to be ruthless. I believe that sales can be a very, very collaborative process with a potential customer, where you work together to achieve a goal in the sales process, which is to solve whatever the problem is. And I've trained thousands of salespeople. I've done a lot of social selling trainings. I've done a lot of sales methodology trainings. And what I meet a lot is that what they're trying to do is to fit into the box while they're not that type of person themselves. And then it becomes a disconnect. And then you need to start doing things you're really uncomfortable with. Because cold calling, personally, as an example, I love cold calling. I think it's the most fun thing you can do. Because you get to take 10 seconds of a person's time to get them to understand why they should want to talk to you. And it's like a roulette table. It's super exciting because you never know who you will talk to. Yeah. And doing that mind frame to sort of move from a position where this is scary and uncomfortable to seeing this as a fun experiment, like a social experiment, it does a lot for your mind. So my recommendation would be, first of all, start doing it a lot more, because you will get over thresholds when you do things. I thought it was super uncomfortable to record videos to send in outreach, as an example, or do video recordings on LinkedIn. And then I did 20 and then it went away because now I'm over the threshold. And the second thing is something similar to mindfulness. It sounds super fluffy, but you need to actually feel comfortable in your own skin. A lot of things that you do that feels uncomfortable feels a lot better when you know who you are, what you stand for. So one of the things that I did a lot when I was doing sales training for both team members of my own teams and also for bigger groups was that I would ask them a question related to who they want to be. So the first question I had was, so you go into a room with the customer, this is your first meeting. Now you've done the meeting, you exit the room. What do you want the person to feel about you? And this is a question that most salespeople or sales leaders haven't asked themselves. What type of emotion do I want to create with this person? Do I want them to feel safe? Do I want them to feel that this is an open space? Do I want them to feel that I really know my shit, specifically based on what I know, like my specific competence? What is the emotions I want to create? And when you start thinking about that, everything you do as a salesperson can become a lot more interesting, because you can, what can I create today in emotions in my customers? What can this meeting be for my customer? What can this cold call be? I would be the best cold call that they have ever had in their life. How do I build that? And it's very much like all in here.
Yeah. Also talking about like how you kind of trying to create an emotion, also sell an emotion is also something that is very top of mind for everyone, and it's really in marketing as well. It's the emotion you want to convey,
right?
It's the emotion you want to show that you can create.
And we can see that shift also in marketing, because one of the things, and I think Oneflow as an example does this well, they're personalizing their marketing. They're doing the bunny, they're doing the sort of lifting the salesperson up, they're doing the creating heroes in the organization, they're making it about the people. And I think that one of the things that we can see now, we can see a shift the last couple of years. I'm a marketing nerd too. I was in an agency 4.5 years. I got damaged there. So So one of the things that we can see is that people before followed brands, right? We followed a brand, and now it's going like this. So we're starting to follow people. So the people connected to the brand carries the brand, right? So Ling is a great example of that because she is carrying the brand in her own social network. So she's using LinkedIn to enforce the brand awareness of her own brand that is connected to Oneflow. And this is a great example of how brand identity works nowadays. It's more about the people and less about the logo.
Yeah.
It's not as important anymore.
No, exactly. Yeah. And you were talking a bit about that, how the biggest kind of mistake doing in sales is to kind of be in that box. What would you say is kind of the top 3 things that you think that people have to think about, or maybe develop as skills within sales to really succeed?
I think that the skills that we needed to have before aren't as important anymore. And I listened to a great pod from Gartner a couple of weeks ago that really sort of hit home on the things I've been talking about for years now. First of all, the box is not for anyone. The sales box, the sleazy salesperson, the ruthless Jordan Belfort type of person, that box fits no people. There are no people who feel well in that box. He didn't feel well. Like no one feels well in that box. It's an illusion of grandiose, right? So if you look at me, you can see I have tattoos everywhere. I have my hair cut the way I do. I'm a very unique, visually a unique person, right? So being able to be in who you are, finding who you are, is super important for you to reject the box. Because I have never been in a box. My managers have tried to put me in a box several times. And I have done them the favor of trying their way. And then I have looked at my numbers and like, okay, so my win rate went down when I started having a suit on in my job. So my win rate efficiently went down on my deals when I was an individual contributor. Because that box is nothing for me. It has nothing to do with me. It should really not be my box. And I think most people feel like that. I think that's why we have a predominantly male industry still, even though it shouldn't be. There are so many talented women out there, because that box is even more distasteful to women overall, based on how we've grown up and how we have been groomed by society in different roles, right? So when it comes to what we need to do as skill sets now, and now we have to talk about AI because that's part of it. So first of all, there's 2 different skill sets that you can train. Nothing is you need to be born with. You can train all of this. So number 1 is agility of mind. And that's a skill set. There are a bunch of sub-categories in here. But skill set when it comes to being agile in your mind means that you're quick on your feet in sales conversations. You're able to adapt your sales methodology to whoever is in front of you based on their need. You're able to be solution-oriented. You are creative. That's agility in mind, right? So you have a bunch of criteria that means that when you come into a meeting, you can make anyone feel comfortable working together with you to achieve something because you can adapt, right? So that's one skill set that you can definitely train. The second skill set is to be able to mentalize. And mentalizing is a term in sales specifically now. You can use it in other situations, but in sales specifically, mentalizing has to do with being able to paint a vision. So painting a vision for a customer, painting out what we are going to become together. So we are here at point A, painting the picture of what point B will be and what point B will be with us or with another vendor or on your own. So being able to, I don't know, drive a story around the mentalizing of an image that is supposed to come in the future. And that's a skill set that most salespeople aren't trained in. They don't know how to do it. They're being told that storytelling is so good for your sales, but no one is teaching them how to do storytelling. Which sort of defeats the purpose, because what they will do most of the time is to take a story that they've heard their sales manager say and say it and try to replicate. It never works. You need to fine-tune your own tonality to your own stories. So if you go into customer meetings and you're able to have them sit at the edge of their seat at the end of the meeting because they're engaged in the vision you're painting, then you're good at mentalizing. So those 2 skills are going to be super important for one main reason. And that is that everything else below that is a job that you can do when you get a script on how to do a job. It's very uncreative. So SDRs and salespeople right now in SMB market, so the small and medium businesses, they are given a script and then they are told to repeat the script. And that has nothing to do with being good at painting an image or painting a picture or painting an idea of success or being quick on your feet. It's just a script. And all jobs in the mid segment, that is, here is the script, go ahead, will be replaced by AI within a couple of years, because everything that is script based, they will be able to do. There are BDRs, SDRs right now who are AI generated voice. Like, this is going to happen. So we need to make a move as salespeople to go from script based selling, something that is repeatable and that you say the same thing over and over again, to the creative space that has to do with project with customers, and to move there now so that we don't end up in a situation where an AI bot takes the job that we have currently. So we need to start moving. And the third piece that they were talking about in the pod was AI collab. So how to collaborate with AI tools, how to prompt. These are skill sets that wasn't available a couple of years ago. These are also skill sets that aren't even in any ads for salespeople yet, because the market hasn't really catched up yet. But we need a person who's good at prompting AI tools to create great outbound messaging, or to create great preparation for a meeting, or like, there are so many things here that a lot of sales organizations, they don't even know where to start yet. And still, the people who are up here, they have always been the best before AI too. They have always been the best. These are the enterprise salespeople, the people who drive process and projects together with their customers, like this. And the mid-segment SDRs and salespeople, they aren't trained in this. We can train them. It's very trainable. We just don't, for some reason, and I can't understand why.
Yeah, no, really good advice to also develop that human aspect of it, or else we will be replaced, basically.
Yes.
Yeah. I want to move over to Break the Box and hear you talk about that. So I really want to know, what was the inspiration behind starting Break the Box?
Yeah, so I think that I can see a trend now looking at the market. So you hit a certain age and you just, I'm done with corporate, I want to do my own thing. But when it comes to what inspired Break the Box as a brand, is that I want to break boxes of convention. We can't stay in the box. I talked about the box previously too. We can't stay in the box. The box is very limiting. And if you want to create amazing revenue results, you need to have team members and supporting members of your team that encourages you and shows you the way on how to breaking that box of comfort for yourself and for your team. So that's why the name Break the Box, because that's the whole point of when we go into a company, we want to break up the mold they have, and we want to rebuild something that's a lot stronger and a lot more brave. Because being more has to do with being brave. You have to actually be brave. When you take us in and then make the changes we suggest, it will require a lot of bravery. So when me and my co-founder decided we were going to jump off, both of us, from high-paying corporate gigs in the revenue sector to pursue our own thing, it was like, so we want to be a consultancy box for people who hate consultants, because I don't like consultants either. They're fluffy and they take forever and they give us documents, but they do nothing. And we also want to break molds. We want to help people understand that being different, however that looks, is good. It's a good skill. It's a quality we have. And to encourage people to be more themselves. And that's also how we pick projects. So we pick projects that are under supported founders. So from an equality perspective, we're supporting more female-led businesses than we're supporting male-led businesses. We're focusing on people who are not the typical norm of an entrepreneur. And we actively try to find projects like that because we really want to make a difference for their businesses. And we are trying to look at who we are best at collaborating with. We have a very open political stand. Like, we're trying to actually be a mark for that being different is good. It's something to strive for. So that is the vision. And when it comes to a long-term goal, we're looking to do this probably 5-6 years, and then we're looking to retire, because we've been working all our lives. We're tired. Like, we will be tired in 5 years. So then we want to enjoy our last time to sort of not work. And what I want to do with that time is write books. I have several like fiction books in my head. I just want to get time to sit down and write them. So that's going to be an interesting journey. And what are we now? 8 months in, we already have a bunch of logos and a bunch of exciting projects. And I think that it's very interesting how well received our services is when they realize quickly that we're very operational. So we have a first workshop with a customer, and then 2 weeks later, they sign a new contract with a new customer of theirs, like within our network, because that's how operational we are. We sort of open doors and make sure that they hit their targets. ARR is the main target for our consultancy effort as well. Their ARR, obviously. Yes.
Yeah. Love it. I was going to ask you where do you see yourself in 5 years, but then I know.
I see myself in Italy in a cabin with a laptop and just writing.
Love it.
Under a false name, so no one knows who I am. I don't have to think about revenue anymore. Like, I'm just doing author stuff.
Oh, love it.
Right?
Yeah. Okay, but I also want to kind of get your point. What do you think that we talked a bit about AI, but what do you think the future holds for B2B sales within SaaS? How do you think it will look like in a few years?
Yes, I've had a lot of angry discussions with people on LinkedIn. People get very flustered over this topic the last couple of weeks. And the thing is, we are right now working with several AI companies that are supporting sales process, right? And what I believe is what I said before. So the mid segment of SDRs and AEs will be replaced by a self-service onboarding process. You will talk to people, just not actual people, during the sales process. You will talk to bots when you're on the website. You will maybe have a call with someone who is an AI bot with voice. We have a super cool company that we're talking to right now, 11XA, that is doing exactly that. You should check it out. It's super cool. And one of the things that we can see is that this is going to make a magnificent shift, because the cost of AEs and SDRs, the cost of salary, and in certain countries it's worse, and in certain countries it's less costly with salary, right? But the cost of salary compared to the margin of an AE selling 2-3 deals a month, it's not even paying for the salary. So we need to start thinking about, considering we will have no ACV on these products because it's mid-market or SMB, it won't even cover the cost of the salary. And if you look at having a person booking meetings, that can be one person doing 10 people's job, and to be honest, the same level of accuracy as a normal human SDR, because they're not trained very well, there is no reason to not move to that sector. What I see happen is that a lot of salespeople, AEs and SDRs, will move to other roles in the company, because them not doing that job doesn't mean that they're not good at doing a bunch of other things. And there are so many SDRs right now who would fit perfectly into marketing, as an example, because they're doing a lot of marketing content. They're doing lead magnets. They're doing content production, basically. So there is plenty of space for these people in roles that are not sales. But we need to accept that it's either going up to enterprise and starting doing the type of work that I'm doing from a perspective of driving process and project with customers, versus doing high intensity, very transactional sales. That's not going to be a thing anymore. And most people will be laggards on this, because they think that, oh my God, what will we do with all the people then? But there will be plenty of places for these people. It's just that it won't be in SMB sales.
Yeah, makes sense. And kind of to wrap up this session, I have 3 quick questions for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
First off, who do you learn from?
My co-founder, George Storm. Every day, all day.
Good to have one close to you that you can learn from. That's good.
Right.
What's one habit that you think has contributed to your success?
Constantly learning. So I read every day. And it doesn't matter what you read. You just need to read. So people who have no books, go and buy books. Like, you need to read. So reading. Because then once you've learned how to read well, you can consume anything. So reading is a habit that I've had with me since I was a child. And I've read, 5,000-6,000 books at this point. I love reading. It's very, very giving, and it's a great lesson in how to consume knowledge.
And lastly, who do you think should be in the next interview?
Who do I think should be in the next interview? Oh, right. Oleg is a CEO at Go Extrovert. I think he should be in the next interview. He has a really cool solution for salespeople. He is selling himself a lot, and he's super interesting to have conversations with about sort of how sales is going to evolve. So Oleg at Go Extrovert, and if you want his contacts, I can send them over. But he should have on the pod.
Awesome.
Yes. Perfect.
Thank you so much, Sara, for being here and also sharing your journey. So many valuable insights and advice for anyone working within sales. So thank you so much.
Of course.
Thank you so much for listening, everyone. Don't forget to subscribe to the show to not miss future episodes. See you in the next one.